Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. It's graduation season. Educational topic today, but fun and not so fun. It's June. We've just had some graduations from college. We have more coming up. And during the graduations from college, we need these, the tissues. I'm sorry, I have to do the props here. The tissues, because I'm bawling my eyes out, right, at these services, even though they're happy. I'm just happy tears, right? We worked really, really hard to get our kids through college. We saved really, literally their whole lives to put them through school. So there's a lot of tears. They're happy tears, right? We did it. Congratulations. However, there's more tears to come because these tears are not the fun tears. These tears are the, oh crap, I got to pay my student loans off for the kids who have the student loans. So they are going to need lots and lots of boxes of tissues, not just the one or two that I'm using today, but they need a lot of boxes of tissues because guess what? They have a lot of student debt. Now, some kids don't because, the parents were able to do some, magnificent saving over their lives. And even with that, sometimes kids have a little bit of a student loan or they have a big student loan coming out. I did 529 plans for my kids and they had enough to get through college, but I made them take a small little loan because I wanted them to have skin in the game. I wanted them to realize that it wasn't free and that they have to pay something. So my 529 plans had plenty of money, but they still have a little bit of skin in the game. I'm a really tough mama, it's like no free ride, kids. But there's other kids who have seriously large student loans, and that is going to take quite a while to pay off. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Get your tissue boxes because it is not fun when you see some of the student loans that I see coming through the doors. And there is a way to handle it, and there's a way to strategize and be strategic about how you're going to pay them off, and maybe pay them off way sooner than the payment plan. But you have to really know what to do. So today we are going to talk about student debt, but we're going to talk about it in a different sense. We're going to talk about it as far as student debt, can it coexist with also saving for retirement? Because guess what? I love talking about saving for retirement. Those traditional 401ks and even better, those Roth 401ks. Well, guess what? The best thing for any kid to do coming out of college is to start contributing to those plans the minute they're eligible, because the longer you save and the younger you start saving, the better off, because you have that whole compounding effect. But then we have these, I call them kids. They're not kids, they're adults, but they're coming out of college and they're getting to the real adulting stage where they have the jobs, right? They have the jobs and they are, maybe paying rent, maybe paying for a car now. And they also have student loan debt. And we're trying to educate them like, hey, don't forget, you also need to save for your future. And of course, retirement to them feels like that'll never happen. That's another lifetime. But, as we all know, it happens quicker than we think. So with the ever-increasing cost of education, student debt can be a significant issue for some of the new graduates. A recent report showed that most student loan debt is about $41,000, and the debt levels are likely to rise. I actually read another really sad statistic, which wasn't talking about the kids being in debt. It actually talked about the parents being in debt. And we're a lot closer to retirement, and taking on the student debt for our own kids is sadly a challenge that we're also facing in some cases. But that is not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the student's debt. So as new graduates come out, they have to find a way to strike the balance between paying their loans back and beginning to save for retirement. Now, the way to do this depends on each graduate's unique circumstances. Now, like I said, my kids have very, very tiny debts. There's other kids who have very large student debt. So it really depends on the situation, but they can still be approached the same way. And the first thing to do, as with everything, I know it's the most boring thing in the world, right? Create a monthly budget. And with a kid come out, an adult, a young adult, I'm sorry, a young adult coming out of college, they're not going to have the expenses that we have probably. They're going to have to determine how much they need to spend on rent. What is their student loan payments going to be? Now, their student loan payments, they're going to be told what their student loan payments are, but they can also pay more, right? They're also going to have to worry about, groceries and necessities and utilities if they're in a rental situation. And if they have, if they bought a car, is there a payment on that car and things like that. So we need to develop a financial strategy, and working on a budget can be a good way to do that. So what they have to do is basically, think about, all right, this is how much I'm going to earn. And guess what? You also have to think about, all right, this is what you're told you're going to be making. But there's also going to be taxes and deductions for everything else on there. So you're not actually going to bring all that home. So once we figure out how much you're actually hitting your checking account from that paycheck, then we have to go in and say, okay, well, here's my income. Here is my budget. Here are the things I have to spend money on. These are my needs, and they come first. These are my wants, and these are my like, hey, these are the fun things I want to do. I want to go out, on Fridays, and I'm going to do First Friday. And especially when it's nice out, I want to do those fun things. But creating a budget and figuring out how am I going to cover the needs first? And that's your rent, your student loan payments. And I believe your saving for your retirement falls into that need factor. It's just, I'm partial to it. So that's the first step. The second step is making your student loan payments on time. This is really critical because your building, or the kids, the adult kids, they're adults. I cannot get it through my head. Listen, I have one of those kids. My oldest just graduated this graduation series or season, and I'm still calling him a kid, even though he's basically an adult, and about to do some real adulting. It's just stuck in my head that he's a kid because I just see them as like 5 year olds, but they're not. So bear with me as I keep making that same mistake throughout this whole video. But you know what I mean. It comes from the heart when I call them kids. So now we got that out of the way. You want to make minimum loan payments each and every month. Your minimum loan payment is the amount that is on the stub that you're told. Obviously, you want to pay more if you're working with somebody, like, if you go to your parents' financial advisor, like I do this for a lot of my clients. I'm like, hey, let me talk to your kids as they're coming out of college. We can talk about their student loans and create a game plan for how to pay that student loan off in a couple of years. Like I'm talking like 2 to 4, 2 to 5, depending on how serious they are, so that when they get to the point in their life where they want to really seriously, get down to some serious adulting and buy a condo, buy a house or something like that, then that debt is taken care of. And by then also they've helped their credit score and their credit rating because they've had this debt and they've paid it off or paid it consistently, have made good loan payments and things like that. And that's going to help build their credit. So there we go. That's what we're talking about. Making your payments on time. That's going to help your credit history, your credit score, things like that. If you have more than one loan and you're like, oh, I have a couple loans, I'm going to pay the minimum payments on a couple of them, but I really want to start paying them off. Which one should I start paying off first? Well, usually the higher interest loan is the first one that we pay off. However, occasionally, if I have somebody with like 5, 6 loans and the one loan is in the middle range of the interest rates, but it's really low, it's like $1,000, or, it's the lowest amount on there, I might say, hey, I know we want to get rid of the higher interest rates first. But if we tackle this one first, that's one monkey off your back, right? And now we're down to, what did I say? Five loans, whatever it was, right? Minus one, can't do math. But we have a little bit of fun with it, right? So we're all about, like, every time we pay one loan off, then that payment that we were making towards that loan goes to the next loan that we're trying to pay off. And we're just being very, very assertive about that. So if you're not talking to your college young adult fans about doing this, you want to have this conversation with them. If you have a financial advisor already, you may want to say, "Hey, can you talk to my young adult who just came out of college about paying their student loans off and build a strategy with them in order to do that?" So that's one of the second steps that we do. The third step is take advantage of your company's retirement plan match. So you're young, you're coming out, you're starting in this role, and sometimes the employers will make you wait. I don't know. Sometimes they'll make you wait a month. Sometimes they make you, well, it's actually more than a month, but usually minimally you have to wait till the next quarter to start into the 401k plan. Sometimes it's 6 months. But no matter what it is, if you can afford it, and that goes back to your budgeting, you have to budget for it. You want to contribute to your employer's retirement plan. One, it gets you in a habit of saving. And once you start that habit and you consistently do it, it creates good long-term life financial planning habits for yourself, and paying yourself first is really, really important. So we're going to do that. We want you to take advantage of it. And here's the bonus. If your company has a match, we call that free money. Take it, right? Free money is good money. So if your company gives a 3% match, well, minimally, you need to be putting 3% of your paycheck into your retirement plan so you can get that 3% match. It's free money. Why wouldn't you do it? Now, can you put more into that plan? Yes. Should you? Yes. That is your money that's going to grow and grow and grow. So everything that you can put towards that is key. Now remember, you're also not used to making money. You're used to saying, "Hey, mom and dad, can you help me out with this? I'm working as a waiter to get through college, but I don't really have a lot." But now you're getting like a real paycheck, right? This is like real time money, but you're not used to having it in your pocket yet. So it is a good time to set up these good habits for a lifetime. So we're talking about, contributing to your 401k plan, your retirement plan at work, and your company matching it is very, very valuable. Long term, this is going to be huge, huge, huge for you. Now, we have a new rule in place. This came into place in 2024. Not many companies are doing it yet. You may see more and more gradually add this as they have to, change their adoptions to their retirement plan agreements. However, if you are contributing to or paying back your student loans, and even if you weren't contributing to your retirement plan, there is the ability for your employer to match whatever their match is, to put that match into the retirement plan for you, as long as you're making that same percentage match to your student loan. So you wouldn't even have to be contributing to the plan. They could still match you in the plan, but match you for what you're paying your student loans off for. So more to come on that. That is like fresh, hot off the presses. Well, not really fresh, hot off the presses, but it's slowly coming into play right now. It came effective in 2024, but it's not widely used yet. But ask your company, see if they're able to offer that to you. And maybe if you are working for a company that doesn't have it, just say, "Hey, would that be something as you update your retirement plan documents? Would that be something that you would do?" So let's talk about the company match. So that basically means when you're contributing money to the plan, and say you're contributing 3% of your money into the retirement plan, and the company matches up to 3%. So if you're 3%, you're making $50,000, your 3% is going to be, $1,500 contribution for the year. And if the plan matches up to 3%, they'll add another $1,500. So that's why I'm saying, hey, free money. We like free money. So that's what you want to think about. You don't want to leave that on the table, guys. It's really, really important. It's going to add up over a long period of time. So that's why we kind of bang our head on the table about that. All right, so let's talk about how it impacts your future. And we're going to, I may have to look at some notes while we're doing this, because there's some, numbers in here. And, I can't do numbers on the fly, even though I love numbers. I just can't do them on the fly. So we have two students, Carrie and Ruth, and they each have student loans. They just graduated. They just dealt with all the tissues. They didn't deal with it. the parents did. We were all doing this the whole time. Don't wear mascara to the graduation. Don't. It's just a mess. So anyway, I'm really ornery today. I don't know what I had for lunch, but I'm being goofy. Oh well, we're having a little fun today. So Carrie and Ruth, they graduated college. Everybody cried. We had a good cry. Now they're crying because they have to pay, their student loans. They started their careers. They each have $40,000 in debt, student loan debt, and their payment for each of them is about $423 a month. Okay. So after reviewing their budgets, Carrie determines that she can afford to contribute 6% of her pay a month to her retirement plan, allowing her to take full advantage of her company's 3% matching contributions. Ruth, on the other hand, is a much, much tighter budget and decides not to contribute to her retirement plan until she pays off her loans. And here's some of the facts. They're both 21 years old. They're both making $55,000 a year. Okay. They're both going to get an annual salary increase of 2%. Both have the $40,000 student loan balance of $40,000. I'm sorry, but they're both going to pay it over 10 years at like a 5% fixed interest rate. So that's where we got that $423 a month. Like we said, the employer for Carrie matches up to a total of 3%. So they'll say basically we'll match 50% on your first 6% of retirement contributions. And the annual investment rate of return that we're using for this exercise is 6%. Obviously, it doesn't mean that that's always going to happen, people. We see what's going on right now. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. It's not all sunshine and roses. But for this case, we're just assuming it's 6% per year. So Carrie's paying her student loan and contributing to her plan. So she's saving early, and we're going to assume that this money grows over 10 years. Again, Ruth hasn't put anything into the 401k retirement plan for the whole 10 years because Ruth is like, I can't afford to. I want to pay my student loan off first. So after 10 years, Ruth has a big goose egg in her retirement plan where Carrie has $73,194. Now, once Ruth's student loans, well, both their student loans are paid off after 10 years, right? Because they just did the 10-year plan. Carrie's going to continue contributing to her 401k plan, and Ruth is now going to start contributing to her 401k plan. Now, we're projecting that they're going to do this until the age of 65. And then Ruth's balance at that point is going to grow to just shy of $850,000. I think it's like $846,494. Okay, that's what Ruth's balance is going to be. Again, assuming a 6% average return from the time her student loans paid off until she turns 65 and putting that specific amount in every year. Carrie's just continuing on from where she started. And then her balance at age 65 is going to be a little over 1.4 million. Okay. $1,406,549. Both, like on paper, both those numbers look good, but that's a big difference. 1.4 million versus 846,000 because Carrie started 10 years younger. That is what we mean by having impact. That is going to make a huge difference in Carrie's retirement plan. So what we're trying to do here is get you to do the right thing for you. We're always going to have reasons why we can't do it right now. We're going to put it off, but we're going to keep putting it off and putting it off. So that's why we just kind of make that illustration for you. So you want to start saving for retirement as soon as you can afford to do so. And the way to make that happen is, as a new graduate, you want to budget carefully to determine what you can afford and beginning to save for retirement and taking advantage of your employer's matching contribution. Remember, free money. We like free money. So we want to do that. And if this is something like, hey, if you were an art major or a history major and you didn't take any math classes, because guess what? In college, unless you're a finance major, you're really not having classes that teach you how to deal with budgeting or even how to figure out how to do a budget. There's people out there who that's what they do. They coach people on a budget, and there is no shame in hiring them because you never learned it in grade school. You never learned it in high school, and you certainly didn't learn it in college, right? And we may think, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to feel like, oh, why should I do that? People are going to make fun of me. If they make fun of you, that means they're jealous and they wish they would have done it themselves. So hire somebody. And listen, I do know a few budgeting coaches, and I talk to them all the time, and I send some people to them, some of my young adults. I'm like, hey, why don't you talk to my friend over here? This is what she does, and she gets you started out the right way. And there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, all these athletes, these super pro athletes, they all have coaches. So why shouldn't you? All right. So that's what we're doing. Point of action here is do your budget and find a way to contribute to your retirement plan and pay your student loans at the same time. Again, thank you for listening to me. I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. You can find me at www.forgewealth.com, Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Forge Wealth, and LinkedIn. I'm Regina McCann-Hess. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founders video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.